Nussbaum might be half right.
Hello and welcome back to the Who Cares Anyway podcast. We are live and it is Friday night. Had a small technical difficulty there right away, but hey, shit happens. But what are you gonna do? And guys, I want you all, I see we have a bunch of you in the chat. I'm always happy to see you. How's everyone doing? How's your week going? Everyone okay? Good. Glad to hear it. But throwing us over to my co-host for the evening, Nico Suave Rigoli. Small show, well, small panel, but a big show. I think is that a fair assessment for how tonight's gonna go?
Yes, I would definitely say that. We got a bunch of big announcements coming up in the second half of the show, and we got some interesting news stories to talk about here in the first half. And I can't wait to talk about all of it with all of you watching at home. Ain't that right, Chris?
Absolutely. But a couple things I wanted to get out before we really dive into some of the movie news. There were a couple things that I wanted to get off my chest. A couple things I wanted to talk about, and okay. A little bit of housekeeping in regards to earlier this week. So, two things happened that I think are really good. One of them is we debuted our brand new Mandalorian recap show, Manas Maketh Mandalorian. And I can definitely say, from the first episode alone, we are incredibly excited for where the first live-action Star Wars show is going. We're happy for where it all could wind up heading. But, something else that happened is you might have noticed that there wasn't a Schmoedown reaction this week to the match of the of the family versus the Wildberries. So I'm just gonna be transparent here with you guys. The audio for the actual reaction was incredibly laggy. It was incredibly messed up beyond all belief, and while I did try to do my best to fix it, it just, for some reason, couldn't quite come together. Unfortunately. But what are you going to do? But that's not all that happened. So, Nico, I want to take a couple minutes to talk about that match, because something happened in that match that made Kees and I incredibly pissed.
So pissed off to the point that I was actually uncomfortable to be on that stream from this point forward.
Yeah, and obviously we apologize for that, but let's talk about that for just a bit, if we may, as far as what actually happened. And so, for those of you who might not recall, during the match when Wildberries was up for their round 3, there's not a specific rule that in round 3, when the two teammates are individually answering questions, that one person can't ask for a repeat when it's the other person's turn at the answering board. That there's no ruling on that, but I know for a fact if that were to happen in the fan leagues, that player would be instantly booted, banned, disqualified, whatever terminology you want to use. And the fact that Makuga got to get away with that just was the straw that broke the camel's back, because Kees and I were already starting to get a little bit annoyed with some of the extra antics that Wildberries are putting up, because they literally did not stop talking all fucking match. Like seriously, there couldn't even, the questions could barely even be done asked before Makuga would start talking, or Dewberry would start talking, or Guy would also join in the fun. It's like, okay, guys, I get that. I actually get that. But this, honestly, to me, it was one of the most disrespectful matches in Schmoedown history. And it bothered me a lot.
Um, Brian Nussbaum just kind of pointed out that this has happened before. In terms of asking for a repeat for your partner. Team Sebs apparently did it when Sean asked for a repeat on Scott Mance's two-pointer. So I guess there is precedent, and we just might have forgot about it.
That's possible.
And there definitely have been matches in the past where there have been a lot of talking at the table between the competitors as well. And, sometimes Elliot mentioned it a lot during the match that they were taping in the morning. So maybe they were all just super tired and just trying to have as much fun as they possibly could to counteract the fact that they were tired. But I think we kind of approached it, the three of us, when we were shooting that reaction that never aired. We were approaching it from the perspective of it's Drew and Drew against the Wildberries. And even me, who is giving the Wildberries some credit where credit is due, because they did have half a perfect first round in their last match.
That's true.
I think we approach it from the perspective of it's very long, and it shouldn't be as long as it was. And we kind of expected it that it was because three of the competitors are serious talkers. Plus, we have, I believe, Mark Ellis and Ken Knapsack at the desk as well. So yep. a lot of people who just love to talk, whether it be for the sake of hearing themselves talk or it's what they do for a living. And we had been getting used to short matches from all the knockouts that we had gotten last week, and also the matches that are very competitive because the teams are just that good. They also tend to be pretty short, simply because a lot of the competitors don't really. They have managers to do the entertainment factor for them. And so they just kind of focus on the gameplay. Makuga and Dewberry, they're like in the happy medium where they have their good days as players and they have their good days as entertainers. But I think these past 12 months, Makuga has definitely done some things both in and out of the Schmoedown that have kind of soured at least the three of us on him a little bit. For me, it was the stuff he said about the professional wrestling community, like calling us garbage people. And yes, I will say that next to Star Wars fans, wrestling fans can be some of the most annoying fan bases on the planet. But that said, we still respect the art form that we love, and he gave absolutely no respect to the art form itself. Then there was also when he flossed the Dan Merle's old belt betwixt his butt cheeks and threw it on the ground. I wanted to see Makuga tarred and feathered for it, and he kind of was in the form of getting an ass whooping by Paulo Yama. Mm-hmm. Then there was also when he said, when he was asked, what are the rankings? And at the time of when he was asking that question, he was in the high 20s. Janine the Machine was in the top 15, if not in the top 10. And he was talking as if he was talking as if it was still 2014 when he was at his peak in the Schmoedown. And he was basically just disrespecting Janine, saying, I could beat her. There are a lot of guys in the top 15 that I could beat. And yeah, I don't buy that for a second, because I feel Makuga is coasting off of his old successes that no longer apply because it's a different era of the Schmoedown. And so basically just all the factors that were going in, from everything he had said in the past year to his antics during the match, and feeling like he was just wasting our time. And then that repeat was just kind of what set us off. And you got to a point where you and Chris were so pissed off.
Kees.
That you and Kees.
Yes, I and myself were quite pissed off.
that it got to a point where you and Kees were so pissed off that I felt uncomfortable to be on the call, because there was just so much rage and awkward silence on your guys' ends that I was trying to bend the situation, that I was trying to find the middle ground and bring the positivity back to the video. And at that point, there was just no saving.
But by then, it was gone. So, I mean, which is why, like, okay, I'm bummed that the audio issues were so freaking terrible. Like, maybe if I had a month, I could have fixed it, but that's the thing about these reaction videos. You have to get them out in a timely fashion, otherwise they just get buried, which, obviously, speaking of, yeah, guys, Loose Cannons versus Crimson Fury. that reaction just dropped about 2 hours ago. Go check it out. Once the show is done, of course. But yeah, no, I think I'm also in that same boat, like, because I get that in real life. The reason that Makuga, is stepping out for a while is because he took a job. He's gonna be gone for the next 4 months, which good for him that he's getting steady work, that he's got a good paying gig. But what's what's frustrating me, what is just purely frustrating me right now, is that Harloff, presumably this was his call, or it could have been Josh's, I don't know. But presumably someone's decision was, let's have him go out on the most douchebaggy note possible to sort of sour the experience. That way when fans when he comes back, fans can almost sort of boo him. Maybe this is like him setting up a heel turn, but still, there's got to be a better way to do this. And I've not been happy with what Harloff has been doing with Makuga.
I don't think Makuga has really cared much for the storyline stuff since after the Finstock stuff because of all the twists and turns it took. And I'll just play devil's advocate here and say there were a lot of editing issues with the match itself, let alone our reaction. Like, it didn't drop until literally when I was about to go to bed after filming a match behind the scenes. And so we don't know if Makuga was actually reprimanded or not for that repeat. But then again, if Team Sebs has also done this in the past, we don't know if they were reprimanded for that either. But nevertheless, and also we don't know exactly when this particular match was taped. So did Makuga know about the new job he was getting at the time this was shot, or who knows? Who knows? But yeah, if Makuga is brought back to the Schmoedown, because I'm obviously giving Elliot Dewberry a lot of leeway because I think he still respects the game. Maybe his study habits are just like, I have a job with Ricky, and it makes it hard sometimes to study. But when I do show up, I give the game as much effort as I possibly can, and I try to have as much a good amount of time as possible. Yeah. But I feel like Makuga, if he still respects the Schmoedown game, he's not doing a great job of showing it. And if I feel like it would probably be in all factions' best interests to not draft him because he hasn't shown that he deserves to be drafted. At least in terms of he's good for team morale, that's for sure. Because he's just a high octane personality and he'll make everyone have fun. But in terms of taking the game seriously enough to make a title run again, there's an argument to be made that he's a waste of a draft pick.
He is, and he's kind of like, he is kind of like Ricky Hayberg in that sense. He's kind of like Sean Gerber at the moment. Who knows? Because we haven't seen that guy forever, so I don't know. Maybe he can come back and just smoke everyone, but. Yeah, it's just I'm just a little frustrated that if this is the last time we're going to be seeing Makuga for a while, then I'm going to feel incredibly cheated. And again, Garth, I see you're in the chat, and I'm glad that you thought it was fun, but for better or for worse, all three of us actually take the gameplay of this maybe a little more seriously than we should. I'll admit that right now. But that's because all three of us are very invested in this game. Because seriously, there's a reason that I write down #future Schmoedown champ on my whiteboard from time to time, because I know if Christian just gave me a shot, if he put me in the Schmoedown right now, I could go for a belt. Hell, I could go for a belt in almost any division.
And I'll also echo the sentiment that we are three very, very passionate people when it comes to the Schmoedown. And we were so passionate when we were shooting that reaction, again, that never aired, that I was thinking, we're really diving into the same mindset and anger that resulted in Rachel Cushing getting chased off the Facebook group. Like I was worried we were becoming those fans at that point. And I feel really weird chastising Makuga the way I am simply because he was a big he played a big part in Trivia for Thon last year, whether he realizes it or not. Like he was a donor. He was a guy I was trying to get for a match. I was trying to get the Wild Berries versus Afro Samurai. It sadly never happened because of the relationship between the fan leagues and the Schmoedown was still sort of being established at that time. Different question writers, different dynamics. So like it was a sticky situation that I don't blame Harloff for not wanting to test those waters just yet. Maybe it'll happen in the future. I don't know, but
Maybe.
I can understand why that matchup never came to fruition. But Makuga's a Pittsburgher. He's a Penn Stater. He's done stuff for Thon in the past on his own, let alone helped out with my charity drive. And I would love his help for Trivia for Thon 2, provided he doesn't see this video and think I'm a douchebag afterwards.
No. Because here's the thing. I'm not criticizing the person Josh Makuga. I'm criticizing the decisions that were made involving his character in the Schmoedown. Like, I'm going to, again, I'm making the assumption. I'm making the assumption that this was a deliberate decision by Harloff and probably Makuga to have Makuga essentially turn into this giant douchebag towards the end of presumably the Wild Berries run. Because look, the Wild Berries, they're done. They're 2-5. They can't possibly get any more matches. At least in my book. But it's one of those things where in fact, I kind of want him to see this video. Because we're just a very small group of people who, again, I understand that, like, for example, I saw some comments from like all of our regular people, like from like Coho and the Multiplex people, as well as the Call to Action people. They loved Monday's match. They adored it. They loved how stupid and energetic it was. Because for better or for worse, they didn't take it as seriously as we did. And I don't know. That's probably just on us.
And also, people love to imitate Andrew Guy, so that's another thing. And there have been times where Guy has done things and we've become friends with Guy over the past couple months through having gone.
Me, but yeah.
Well, for me, he's become a true friend in the past couple months simply because of me having gone to these Schmoedown live events and having gotten to interact with him for real, as opposed to just saying, "Hey, I like you. I want to be your friend, but you're a heel right now, so I can't really root for you openly." But yeah, people like Andrew Guy. People like his shtick, and I think they really liked that he was being a Wildberry fanboy, and he was helping out with the fun aspect of that match on Monday. But Guy has definitely done things that have rubbed me the wrong way as well. See his performance in the Free for All this year, where he was being a little more vocal than he usually is, and that's saying something. And it was just I felt like he was just really, really derailing the free-for-all and halting the progress of it to the point that I wanted him off the stage as quickly as possible. So sometimes even fan favorites can do things that will piss you off. And I will say this, though. The rubbing of the belt between the taint, that was definitely not Harloff's call. Like, Harloff said he wanted to shoot Josh in the kneecaps after that happened, and that was on Collider Live because he had no idea Makuga was going to do that, and those belts are expensive. Even the old ones they don't use anymore, they're all very costly to make, and that's why they probably haven't done any replicas yet for sale. So I chalk a lot of it up to Makuga just being Makuga, and maybe his personality is rubbing us the wrong way in these final matches that we've seen him in.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. And actually, you know what I'd love to do? I think sometime in the next couple of months, or when he's done with his gig, sometime maybe in like March 2020, I'll give him a call. I'll hit him up and I'll see if I can get him to come on the show and we can hash this out, because I don't like feeling I don't like feeling angry at someone when I know it's not really their fault. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, I just want to say one last time, I'm not really putting any of the blame here on Elliot Dewberry because I feel like he's just been along for the ride in this whole wild journey that has been his Schmoedown career. And ETC, they're the reason I watched the Schmoedown. Like, I took a break after they got knocked out of the 2015 tournament and didn't come back until the Force Bros were a thing. But I attribute a lot of why I am a fan of the Schmoedown to that team's tournament in 2015 and to Elliot Dewberry and Ricky Hayberg.
Right. Yeah, so I want to get that off my chest, guys. Thank you for putting up with my nonsense in the conversation there. But wow, we went on,
30 minutes.
20
or
minutes.
Close.
20 minutes. Wow. Okay, so then, guys, let's start diving into some news. Woo. So trailers. We got like 4 or 5 different trailers this week. I picked 3 of them to talk about because, look, the SpongeBob trailer looked fine. Keanu Reeves was in it. Whoop-de-fucking-do.
I haven't seen the SpongeBob trailer yet.
I don't like the animation. I'm a purist when it comes to my SpongeBob. I want the 2D hand-drawn, good animation, not this sponge out of water thing that I am not digging. Sorry.
I still find it funny that Scarlett Johansson was in the first
one. Yep.
Yeah, the first SpongeBob.
She was Mindy, daughter of King Triton.
Yes, and David Hasselhoff was also in it as a cyborg who could turn into a raft.
/ speedboat. Let's be fair.
Yes.
and Alec Baldwin played Dennis, the hitman that Plankton hires to try to kill them. See, I can find more things to talk about than the new SpongeBob trailer, because, again, it wasn't good. Sorry. Yes, as Toothless looks on in slight judgment, I'm not sure.
I completely forgot that this was behind me the entire time.
Yes. But let's talk about a trailer. Hold on. So never mind. Let's start with a trailer that I liked, and then we'll go on to one I didn't like, and then one that I loved. Starting with Sonic. We now have seen the new Sonic design. I hate to say it, I like it. I can't wait to see this movie, actually. Like, I'm excited. I'm actually excited for a Sonic movie. I never thought that was going to happen. And yet, here we are.
Part of the reason why I'm assuming you like it is because of the familiarity. Like, we were kind of hypercritical of the precedent that could be set by basically a studio getting bullied to follow the whim of the fans. But the fans can be right sometimes, and this is one of those moments where they were right. The old look, there was nothing wrong with the old look. It just needed to be a little furrier so it looked like it fit within our world.
Yeah.
And they got it right this time. And going back to the first trailer from months ago, I did not have a problem at all with Jim Carrey because I feel like Jim Carrey is one of those actors who can do anything. And even if a trailer doesn't maybe showcase his best performances, his actual acting can.
20 years ago, I would have agreed with you on that. I can't agree with you on that now.
Okay, to each their own. But I do like Jim Carrey in what I've seen in the trailer so far for this movie. I like this more humorous take it's very different from the first trailer in that there's a lot more comedy being thrown in there, especially with the darts. We get a little more origin as to what exactly is Eggman hunting Sonic down for? Now we have the MacGuffin. They want his power. They want his speed. They want the rings. And I think we're in for a surprisingly good movie now. Like the studio was obviously smart enough to course correct when they realized they had a problem on their hands that would affect their box office. Now it's just a matter of, does the story work? Does the acting work? The actual questions one should have when watching a movie.
Yeah. And, Ingle, you cracked me up because you asked in the chat, does James Marsden get any movies where he can act off a real human? Hello, the X-Men trilogy. You know,
I just
Enchanted.
remembered.
He got to act off people.
I just remembered he was in the Easter Bunny movie with Russell Brand, wasn't he?
Oh fuck yeah, you're right. Hop. Oh, that movie was ugh. Look, bottom line, this will be a much better movie than Hop because now I know that I mentioned that 20 I say 20 years ago Jim Carrey could do anything, but he has made some missteps lately. However, this trailer did convince me that we're getting the Carrey of old, the funny Jim Carrey. Like, for example, when the one guy's like, "Did you want your latte?" "Yes, because I love the way you make it." That's funny.
And also, the Carrie and this show was more dramatic, but his show on HBO with Judy Greer, I believe it was nominated for a couple
I'm
awards.
dying up here, yeah.
So like that's drama and not comedy, but they're both genres are still pretty hard to do. So I feel like Jim Carrey is back, and it's just a matter of seeing it done in the comedic aspect as much as it has been shown in the dramatic aspect.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, he's always been pretty much solid at dramatic acting. I mean, look at Man on the Moon. Look at The Majestic. Look at, obviously, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, a.k.a. The Lake House. Look at number 23. Even though the movie itself is not that good, he gives a great performance in it. And yeah, I'm dying up here. He's hysterical. And also very, like, heartfelt. So I'm very much looking forward to see what he actually can bring to this movie. And, guys, I want you to do me a favor. Head on over to Multiplex. I want you to shoot down that stupid notion of hashtag Dopec. Never gonna happen.
I don't know what that means.
Here, I'll give you the quick skinny. So I was on Your List Sucks this week. And because I found myself agreeing with Peck on a few things in regards to his picks, the running joke became, oh, well, Dohmen needs a partner, Peck needs a partner. Let's just pair them up. It's like, no. A team between Peck and I would not work. No. All right. Anyway, let's get to the trailer that I found most unfunny, minus one joke. Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We got some work to do now. Yeah, Scoob. What the hell was this?
I don't really know. Because Scooby-Doo has taken a lot of different interpretations over the years. Like the gang has paired up with Batman at one point during the old cartoon. They did a crossover with the Supernatural cast a few years back.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There were the movies with Freddie Prinze, which I'd call them somewhat underrated. They have some likable.
You revisited them
to
recently?
Not really. So I'm kind of just
okay.
I'm kind of just being nice.
Okay. just stay in that realm then.
All right. But this it feels like it kind of goes away from the magic of what makes Scooby-Doo special. Like, I know a lot of people, one of their big complaints about Solo, a Star Wars story, is how Han Solo gets the name Solo. And I'm one of those people who's like, I'm okay with this because it feels very Great Gatsby-esque in the way he got his name. But they kind of repeat the thing here with this trailer of how Scooby-Doo gets his name, of like, oh, he just looks at a box of snacks and then makes up random syllables and puts them together to form the full name. And for me, it didn't work that way. Then there's the meeting of the gang entirely. Like, they're just trick-or-treating one night. Now, again, we're just seeing a trailer, so maybe it'll look different.
There's probably more to it, but simultaneously,
it seemed kind of generic.
Yeah.
And then there were the jokes. Like, they tried to be topical at some points. And I'll admit, upon first viewing of this trailer, the IKEA joke made me chuckle a little bit. But now I'm like, I'm chuckling, but am I really chuckling for the right reasons? Because, like, Scooby-Doo, it can be topical, but the topicalness works best when it's organic, and that kind of felt forced. So it makes me wonder, is this going to be another one of those beloved childhood things that Hollywood just doesn't know what to do with, and they're trying to keep a license? So they're going to the drawing board with it again, and they're taking an approach that might not work.
Okay, honestly, Brian Nussbaum, you might be onto something. Like, to me, this movie feels like they're trying to set up a Hanna-Barbera universe just to sort of make all the movies relevant again. It's like, no, just let them die, let them stay dead. I don't think this movie's going to be any good. And I'm saying that because, first off, most of the voice cast isn't coming back, which that sucks. Most like the animation, it's a serious downgrade from honestly most of what they've put out over the last 10 years. And I'll also even say it's that topical sense of humor that's just not working. Like, for example, the one joke that made me actually laugh was right at the end of the trailer where Velma is going through the clues and whatnot. She's like, mustache oil, 12-year-old scotch. Oh, God, does this mean the bad guy's my dad? That's funny. That's, like, actually funny. But outside of that, nothing.
And even then, I'll say, like, that's a funny joke. But this looks like a very kids movie. And to get that joke, it again feels very out of place. Like, it feels like too mature of a joke for what we're seeing in this trailer. And so,
because kids shouldn't know what this is, let alone what a glass of scotch is.
And do kids also really care about IKEA? Like, have they even been to an IKEA? I don't think I've ever been to an IKEA. I've heard a bunch of jokes about IKEA, but I've never been inside one.
If you come to Minnesota, I'll take you to IKEA. We have one here.
I'm like you. I don't really know what to make of what we've seen. And I'm a little scared for it that they might portray Scooby and the gang in a light that undercuts its value.
Oh, God. That was Zac Efron as Fred?
Yeah, it actually was.
Yikes. Okay, well, let's talk about a trailer that I loved. So, y'all know my affinity for horror. And while I'm not on everyone's nostalgia train, there are some things I can get behind. For example, back in the 80s, we had a wonderful little show called Fantasy Island. It starred Ricardo Montalban, Khan himself, as the host of the Fantasy Island, where everybody who came got one fantasy of their choosing. And with his little sidekick knick-knack, they made it happen. It was fun. And, there was always something a little off about the island, but it never got carried away with how it was. Until we have this new version that just pitches us a fun little what if. What if instead of the fantasy serving you serve the fantasy? Fantasy Island, baby. I am in line right now. I got popcorn. I got drinks. I'm going to have a good fucking time with this thing. Nico, am I going to have to drag you kicking and screaming with me to the theater?
I'm tempted to check this out, and here's why. So, Nickelodeon once had a show called The Fairly Odd Parents, and they introduced a genie character played by Norm Macdonald. And the way they did the way they introduced the lore of genies in comparison to fairies was, genies, obviously you only get 3 wishes, but also there's always a catch to when you exhaust that 3rd wish. Actually, there was sort of a catch to the first 2 wishes as well, but basically there was a catch. Like, the magic wasn't clean, cut, and dry. And this is what I feel like we're getting from this trailer for Fantasy Island, in that everyone has a fantasy. This island is where that fantasy gets granted, but it also gets twisted. It makes you wish that you hadn't chosen this as your fantasy, because it shows all the consequences of having this fantasy to begin with. Like, wanting revenge on your high school bully. The moment she sees, oh, this isn't a hologram, this is the real thing, she's like, this isn't what I meant. I didn't want her dead. I just wanted her to be my friend. And then next thing we know, the girl's getting murdered, and then we cut to the next scene. Like someone's daughter was brought back to life. Like, are you prepared for childcare? Like, we don't even know what happens to that child. I'm just asking, like, are you prepared for childcare now at this point in your life? Because that's a scary thought. Your child being brought back to life when you've kind of maybe moved on from that period. Like, this is an interesting premise, and I'm curious to check it out.
Yeah, no, like I said, I did watch some of the show growing up, and I'm intrigued as hell by this premise because it almost has like a sort of Get Out feel to it, where it's gonna start off pleasant enough, but then as soon as you start seeing the inner workings of how everything happens, get ready for some mind fuck, and I dig it. I so dig it. Oh, God. Okay, Engel, I appreciate this one. He has a fantasy that he never saw the Yogi Bear movie.
We're still on the Yogi Bear. Let it go.
Let's say, to be fair, there have been worse films, so yes, let it go. Oh, goodness. All right. Well, speaking of let it go, all you people who said that Joker was never going to amount to anything, it's now the highest grossing rated R movie of all time. And it just passed $1 billion. Boy, I bet you all feel really stupid right now. Nico, you still haven't seen it yet, have you?
No. Again, I've been busy. School is a bitch. 5 weeks left to go. So I'll probably finally get to see it when it comes out on Blu-ray or digital. But yeah, like, so remind me, Deadpool was behind it on the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, comic book adaptations are now the highest grossing R-rated movies of all time.
Well, and it's kind of little wonder that people like Scorsese and Coppola have been criticizing it because, well, when you're no longer top dog and Todd Phillips and the Russo brothers and Tim Miller are taking over your top spots, yeah, you're gonna get a little jealous. That happens. But simultaneously, I'm surprised. I'm still actually freaking surprised. Is this movie successful just because it's a comic book movie, or is it because it's tapping into something a little bit deeper? I
think it might be a combination of all three. All three being the two things you just mentioned, and also the third thing being that it's a comic book movie that kind of embraces, but also but also sort of steers away from the source material. In that there's no Batman, so like we don't have that Joker Batman dynamic, but it does also follow the everyone is capable of having a bad day, but what happens when that one bad day causes you to snap? And will you engage in behavior like what we see in Joaquin Phoenix's character, or will you do something worse or better? It's a social experiment mixed in with a comic book movie that embraces the source material and sort of puts its own spin on it, and that I think is the appeal of it, and also word of mouth. Because of the people having seen it and giving it such high reviews, it's steering other people into the theater to see what all the hoopla is about, and they either realize it or they disagree with it. But either or, they're going in to see the movie, and it's creating a divisiveness of opinion that is driving people to go to the theater to see it and form their own opinions.
Wait, sorry. What word did you use to describe it again, Nico?
Isn't derisive a word?
No, that's not what I was talking about. There was a different word you use. Hoopla.
That's a reference to before we started shooting our reaction earlier today.
Yeah, it is. Well, at least you didn't say it right here. Oh, wait, hold on.
Huh.
Anyway.
Do you have 2 different drinks for your
Yes.
own drinking game?
Yes, of course I do. Because I gotta have my classy wine. Then I'm just finishing off my Mountain Dew from earlier. So, but no. And speaking of classy, hey, Scorsese, you know who thinks you're dead wrong about Marvel and Star Wars? Werner Herzog. Holy Jesus! The way this man praised what the Mandalorian and Jon Favreau are doing, it's kind of insane. Like, this is a guy who makes some of the most serious, heart-wrenching films you will ever see in your life. He has no aspiration to ever go near a blockbuster. He does not care for blockbusters. He doesn't really care for the studio system in general. And yet, the fact that he actually compared Star Wars to the tales of Greek gods and, like that level of mythology that has stood the test of time, because, yeah, we're still making movies about the Greek gods. That is a fucking compliment, sir. Thank you.
And strangely enough, in that infamous Freddie Prinze Jr. rant from a few weeks ago, like he goes on a comparison of Star Wars to Greek mythology. Like he compares Darth Maul to being the character that never wins and is just forced to roll that boulder up the hill and let it roll over him over and over and over again. No, I think it was different from Atlas because Atlas holds up
sorry,
the
Atlas holds
planet.
Fuck. Hello, brain, work.
Well, basically, Maul is the guy in Greek mythology who is always destined to fail. And, George Lucas was notorious for taking Greek mythology, elements of poetry, and incorporating it into what his creation of Star Wars would become. And people, and even though he's no longer officially tied to Star Wars, he was on the set for The Mandalorian for a couple episodes. And so his influence is noticeably there in Favreau's work because Favreau is a fan of Star Wars at heart. And so, yeah, taking the original inspiration for what Star Wars was based on and incorporating it into The Mandalorian, I can see why Werner Herzog would make these comparisons and why he is so enthralled with this franchise that he's joined, because he said himself he's not a Star Wars fan, but he's working on a Star Wars show, and he loves what's being done to make this show work, and we love it too. We've already shown how much we love the show in our first review from earlier this week, and we're going to do it again tomorrow for episode 2. So, yeah, like. I'm happy he's sort of catching the Star Wars bug, even if it's in his own unique way.
Yeah. And I'm just I'm enthralled by the fact that he would go on such a tangent about, again, something that you don't think of when you think of the name Werner Herzog, and yet here he is doing his thing, and I'm just incredibly happy for that. Okay. Jonathan Peck, what's up, man? Listen, you we do like you here, but I would just, I just don't think a team consisting of you and I could really be that successful because we kind of have too many of the same strengths. So in case you catch this in case you catch the replay and it seems like I'm throwing you under the bus, I swear to God, man, I'm not. But you did actually ask a question that. Going back to Joker for a moment, where you asked, is it possible to have all top 10 highest-grossing movies of the year break $1 billion? And while Nico was doing a little thing there, I double-checked the numbers, and right now, out of the top 10, six of the top 10 have broken $1 billion. Sorry, 7, now including Joker.
Whew.
So, it's actually possible because you got Frozen 2 coming yet. We have Star Wars Episode 9, and that's definitely going to break $1 billion no matter what happens. I think it's possible. Like, I actually think there's a shot. So we'll just have to see. Like, that would be interesting to close out this decade where literally every film in the top 10 broke a billion at the worldwide box office.
And then the conversation that would be had afterwards of like what studios made them, that would make an even more interesting conversation because we could analyze like how many of them came from Disney, Warner Brothers, Sony, what have you.
Literally, the top 6 are all Disney, and then Warner Brothers comes in at number 7. Hobbs and Shaw, which is currently at number 8, that's Universal. So yeah.
So possibly, if Frozen 2 and Star Wars make it into the top 10, 8 of the top 10 films could be Disney, and they could all cross $1 billion.
And I think they're going to, which is kind of sad when you stop to think about it. But, what are you gonna do?
Well, this is how Disney Plus is so cheap because they keep making those billions of dollars. So it makes life easy on us as subscribers.
And also, to be fair, they also want to make sure they can hook in as many people as humanly possible. So yeah, when you have your base rate at $7 a month, yeah, people are gonna sign up for it. And of course, I signed up for it because I'm sorry, Whitney Seibolds of the world, but I love Disney, and there's nothing you can say to make me stop loving Disney. Even though I agree, they're an evil corporation. We bow down to our mousy overlords, damn it.
Like, how many times have we heard Walt Disney himself was an anti-Semite, and that still hasn't driven anyone away?
Right? Well, that was never officially proven.
Fair enough.
Officially. You know, I mean, shit. Some people still believe that he's cryogenically frozen underneath Disney World until someone can come up with a cure for lung cancer. But I doubt that. I doubt that immensely. All right, moving on to 3 more stories here, real fast. Look, back in 1984, arguably one of those profitable films of the decade was released. And no, it wasn't Ghostbusters. It wasn't Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. It wasn't whatever other big smash 84 film you want to mention. It was a little film called Beverly Hills Cop. Starring Eddie Murphy as Detective Axel Foley, a cop from Detroit who finds himself in L.A. He's doing his thing. He's putting bananas in tailpipes, and it's great. I love the movie. And then, director of The Empire Strikes Back, Irving Kershner, comes on to... Tony Scott, director of Top Gun and other such, films, comes in to direct the second one. It is fine. It is fine. Then you have Beverly Hills Cop 3, which stunk. I don't care where you're from. That movie stunk. But that was back in 1989. We buried it. It's fine. Or 1990, sorry. We buried it. It's fine. The franchise was done. Oh, wait a minute. Netflix is going to do the thing. They're going to do the thing. They're doing a 4th one. Fuck my life. I don't want this. Nobody wants this.
I'm kind of okay with this. I enjoy both the first and second one. I've never seen the third one because for some reason people keep acting like you said yourself. They bury that third one, and they buried it so much that I wondered, like, is it an actual film that got made, or is it just like a myth that people talk about? And there's some sort of joke that I'm just not in on. But apparently it's an actual movie, and I just haven't seen it and been able to find it. Comedy Central never airs it, so that should be enough of an explanation as to why I've never seen it, because they don't want it. But Harloff said it earlier today on SEN. Eddie Murphy's got some magic going for him since partnering with Netflix. Dolomite has been getting a lot of praise. His Netflix special, where he was doing stand-up, has gotten a lot of praise. So maybe they can get this right if they get the story right. And that is like take advantage of the fact that he's old and use that as part of the story of like maybe he's mentoring someone new and he's trying to teach them all the hijinks that worked for him in the 80s, but maybe it doesn't work. So he learns something about adapting with the times. Like there are potential themes that can be explored upon with a fourth movie. And I feel like Netflix is probably the best place for it because they have that hesitation of what happened with the third movie. They don't want to make the same mistake twice. So putting it on a streaming service like Netflix could be the right way to go. So I'm going to be optimistic about this. Part of me still thinks that it may be in Phase 5 of Marvel that he should take on the role of Blue Marvel, which is a scientist character that also has like sort of Superman-ish powers that he got similarly to I think how Captain Marvel got her powers. I'll need to look at the mythology again, but that's just my personal preference as to what I'd like to see him do. But I feel like he's found his magic at Netflix, so I think he can continue to do so with a Beverly Hills Cop 4.
Maybe I'm just burnt by the last two because they really, again, they're not good at all. But I don't know, and you're right, because Dolomite's just been blowing up in terms of critical praise, and I really do need to check that out. I will make time next week to give it a watch, and I'll probably love the hell out of it. But no, to tell what I was snickering about earlier, the cool guy put it in the chat. If Ford versus Ferrari makes $1 billion, he will make you eat a hat.
I'm not agreeing to that whatsoever. But I haven't seen Ford versus Ferrari yet, but it is definitely on my list of movies that I'd like to watch before the year is over. It's just a matter of, will I have time to actually go to the theater? Because, again, college is a pain in the ass, especially in these last 5 weeks.
And working every day is a pain in the ass. That's why I cannot fucking wait for my vacation. Oh, when's it coming? It's coming in 2 weeks. Yep. Can't get here fast enough. All right, 2 more stories, and we're going to hit the break. Actually, you know what? Look, do we have any thoughts on Mark Wahlberg joining the cast of Uncharted?
Did you even put that in the show notes?
I did, but it's fine.
I didn't even realize you put that in the show notes.
That's fine. Because, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. You know what it is? What it's time for, everyone. Grab your popcorn and grab your drinks because it's rant time.
Oh, dear.
So, listen, Spike Lee, I have to give you nothing but congratulations for finally winning a fucking Oscar. After, being in the industry for over 30 years and cranking out some of the best films that really dive into some deep social issues regarding race, regarding class, regarding the ability to move forward in a world that's constantly trying to put you down. Respect. All around. So, if you were to come at me with literally any other fucking idea than doing hip-hop version of Romeo and Juliet, I'd be on board for that. But here's the problem, my man. We've already had this fucking thing 20 years ago. It was called Romeo Must Die. This thing stunk. And when I say stunk, it stunked. Like, you had Jet Li, you had Aaliyah, you had DMX, I think, was in this fucking thing. Like, dude. Like, I understand you think you have a really cool interpretation of the Bard's work, but we already have been trying to do reinterpretations of Romeo and Juliet for the last, pretty much since the dawn of cinema, and it's rarely fucking worked. Franco Zeffirelli gets a free pass just because, there was at least a little bit of effort, but then again, you also saw an underage girl's boobs, and that's a big no-no in today's society. Baz Luhrmann. What the fuck were you trying to make with that movie, man? Yikes. Leo as Romeo? No, thank you. Although the one guy as Mercutio, that was awesome. And literally, again, Romeo Must Die. That movie stunk. Romeo and Juliet. That movie stunk. Can we just ease up on trying to do Romeo and Juliet? Please? Unless you're going to just do an adaptation, do it straight, don't fuck it up by trying to do all modern and hip with it. Stop. Stop.
I've actually seen the version with Leo. We watched it, I think, in 4th or 5th grade. And it's so weird seeing them use the original script in such a modern day setting. And I get that that's the appeal. But
it doesn't work.
And the main thing that's making me think this could work is simply that Hamilton exists. And Hamilton is a hip-hop production of the American Revolutionary period. And they found a way to make it work. So maybe if Spike Lee gets people he gets really talented rap artists in the rap world, and then maybe also brings on someone like Lin-Manuel Miranda to help put it in the Shakespearean play perspective, maybe something can work. But I don't know if they're going to go that route. And you've mentioned a whole bunch of other adaptations of Romeo and Juliet that didn't work. So, yeah, this might not. I mean, hey, it's somewhat original, but also somewhat tried and true. So maybe I'm trying to find the bright side of this, and I'm not sure I can find one.
Now I want to have a separate rant because of what Ingo just put in the chat, where he's saying the best Romeo and Juliet movie is the Romeo and Juliet with Elton John's music. No, sir. No, sir. You could not be more wrong. You lose. Oh, Jesus Christ. But hey, that was fun. So we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and as soon as we get back, it's announcements time. Guys, I know I've been hyping this up, but we're not shitting you. Get ready. Get the fuck ready. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this. Cool.
With blasters, and Nina plays it off like she's very innocent, but like the moment you get there, you're like, I have a bad feeling about this. However, the moment that Nina and Nico meet, it's like, oh yeah, no, I ship this. This has to happen. This is our Kaz and Tora 2.0.
Yeah.
So like at that moment, I kind of forgot that about my suspicions, but
well, and that's actually kind of the power of this episode, where you would think everyone would be distrusting of her, but of course, as soon as Nico trusts her, all of us we're just like, guard down, because we like Nia. She's a very capable engineer, and what does the Colossus need right now? It needs a very capable engineer who can fix it up.
Yes.
Yeah. You should watch Tetsuo the Iron Man, a really wonderful Japanese film from the late '80s about a salaryman, just a regular businessman in Japan who discovers that there's like little bits of like circuitry and machinery growing out of his body until it just sort of overtakes his entire body. And there's also this other metaphor about another cyborg that's happening to, but he really loves it, and they end up getting these really bizarre stop motion animated fights, and it's made on a budget of $50, and it's amazing. You really ought to check out Tetsuo the Iron Man. It's by a director named Shinya Tsukamoto. He did Tokyo Fist as well. Yeah, that one's pretty nightmarish. If you got a fear of cyborgs, see that movie.
No, sir.
Tsukamoto. Okay, thank you.
Damn it.
That's T.S. Tsukamoto.
Oh,
and
sorry.
Why are you helping?
There's actually a really great Shinya Tsukamoto story. Evidently, when Martin Scorsese was making Silence, he was auditioning Japanese actors, and Shinya Tsukamoto, who's also done some acting, he acts in his own movies, auditioned for one of the roles, and he just wanted to be in the same room as Scorsese. He had no agenda. He wasn't like, he knew he wasn't a great actor. He just knew he was an actor, and the casting agent said, okay, well, we'll bring in this guy, Shinya Tsukamoto. The casting director didn't know who it was. And he walked in the room, and Scorsese just sort of lit up. He's like, holy crap, this guy's in my auditioning room. And they just went up and they bowed to each other. And he said, this is the great filmmaker, Shinya Tsukamoto, and I love your movies. And they said, can I do your audition? And Martin Scorsese says, well, you're not quite right, but thank you for coming in. I really wanted to meet you. So you got to have a chat with Martin Scorsese.
That is
just because of the cluelessness of some casting director.
And I want to say one last thing, or two last things. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. This is one of the best managers ever. Took a while for me to get on board, but he got me on board, and we got there. Second thing, to my baby who's watching on the live stream. I know you couldn't be here, my love, but I'm bringing the bell home. And when I get home, we're going to make love like we never made love. Wow.
Yes!
Spoken like a true champion.
John, please.
I cleaned it up for the kids. Make love is a good thing.
Just please don't do it with the belt on, okay? We all have to handle that thing.
No, take those belts off.
Can I end on that note, Christian?
December 7th, the Schmoedown Spectacular. 5 matches, all the titles in the line. Whoever wins between Bateman and Bibiani will challenge Oyama for the title on December 7th.
I've got the knowledge and the gameplay. If he doesn't choke in round 3, I'll just have to beat him in 5 rounds.
Will you be standing?
I'll be standing. I don't know how chairs work anymore.
Mike Kalinowski will be defending the Inner Geekdom Championship.
I want to prove that I'm the best Inner Geekdom player this league has ever seen. Don't tell Peter, but that belt's coming to me.
The Star Wars Championship on the line.
Can anyone beat you?
Somebody's got to take down Damon.
The Team Championship will be on the line.
I'm just looking at that team tournament coming up, and I'm feeling damn good.
Remember the mini Schmoedown Con that we're doing? Meet all your favorite competitors.
The Schmoedown memorabilia, all the belts will be there. We'll have so much fun as a Schmoedown fan that you guys can get tickets for right now. Get your tickets at theschmoedownlive.com.
And welcome back to the second half of the Who Cares Anyway podcast. I don't know why I talked like that, but hey, you know what? Fuck it. You might as well stick to something for a moment if you got a groove going. Oh, yeah. And all of a sudden I went walking there. Okay. I don't know what's going on with me.
That was very Austin Powers-ish.
Yeah, baby, yeah. God, I love those movies. Even though I probably shouldn't. Anyway, guys, so as we've been hyping up for a while, we got some announcements. And we've been talking about them. So, Nico, even though unfortunately we are down a member tonight, but Kees still said just go ahead, make the announcements. He put himself before the channel. Or he put the channel before himself. I so respect that. But yeah, so enough dilly-dallying. The short is, guys, we are expanding.
Yep.
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
So much so that I had to, literally, we're going to be spending the next, I'd say, half hour or so just talking about everything that's going to be coming to this channel in 2020. Now, why are we doing this so far in advance? Because there's actually a couple of reasons for it. One, we want to get you guys excited for it, but also two, we might be asking for some help. So This way, you guys have enough time to do whatever you've got to do to help us out with the expansion of dedicated art next year.
Yeah, because, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but for one, we don't know what the hell happened to Ryan McLellan. He's kind of been AWOL for us for the past several months. And you know what? If he's moved on to other things, we wish him the best in those better things that he's gone on to do. We're being cryptic about this because he hasn't really messaged us back in a while, so we don't really know what he's been up to. But we do realize also that, like, if we want to branch out in 2020, if we want to try and do these new things, we're going to need more bodies. We're going to need more brains. We're going to need more people who can help make these shows what they are, because just the three of us, myself, Chris, and Kees, we can't do it all on our own. No. And we realize also that if it's just the three of us doing all of those things, we're never going to really increase our audience because we realize that our attitudes aren't for everyone. And there might be some people who haven't been discovered yet that would bring in those audiences we haven't tapped yet. So we want to give some new people a chance to shine in the spotlight on our stage with a couple new show ideas that we will be talking about in the next
however long we need to.
So. Yeah, however long we need to do so for this half of the show.
Exactly. You know, Robert Adams, which, by the way, Nico, we have to give a huge congratulations to our dear friends, the Cine Fanatics, who just broke 1,000 subs. Guys, fucking congratulations. You earned it. You 100% earned it. But, yeah. Hashtag D2A for 1K subs in 2020. Yeah, that's kind of the goal. Is I want to start opening up monetization. I want to build this channel up to a point where I can start paying people. Same thing with the podcast feeds. Why we're going to be expanding that. You know, for the rest of the year, it's still going to be, the Who Cares Anime podcast feed. But starting next year, it will be the Dedicated to Art Network. So, and of course, we're not just going to have Who Cares Anyway, even though that will be sort of the flagship show as it kind of has been, because it's our big chance to talk to you guys live and as close to in person as we can. Which, wait a minute, although it's funny I mentioned that, because I haven't told the guys about this yet, but I'm going to fucking spill the beans about this now.
Ooh.
Over the course of next year, I want to do something stupidly crazy. I want to do not one, but 2 live episodes of the Who Cares Anyway podcast in the city where a Schmoedown event is happening.
Ooh.
I haven't picked it out yet because I don't have the schedule for the Schmoedown yet, but as soon as I get that, yeah. We are going to actually do a live episode of the Who Cares Anyway podcast in a Schmoedown city.
I mean, it is possible to do podcasts on the go. Like Joe Rogan has done podcasts on the go in the past. Chris Hardwick, back when Nerdist was still doing podcasts, if they're still doing podcasts, I have no idea. Like he would shoot podcasts on a plane. So it is possible. It is doable. The live aspect, obviously we'll figure that out when we get there. But like, this is news to me, but this is exciting news because it's been something I've been thinking about since we've been traveling to these Schmoedown events together. Like I've thought about doing various live streams. Like there were talks of doing the Trivia for Thon match with Andrew Hayes, the championship match, as a live match in New York, because he and I were the first in line for that Brooklyn event at the start of this year. Nice. So like it's been in my head for a very long time, and now that we're actually putting in plans, putting into motion the plans to actually make these things happen, that excites me.
Yeah, and you know, of course, we're going to do our best to do one of them in LA and one wherever else we can. Like, for example, if, let's say, they do come back to Chicago, I will drive down there with, let's say, 3 cameras, a laptop, and some basic sound equipment, and we're going to do a live show. I will hire an engineer to do that show for us. And yeah, because I love doing this. Like, funny enough, when I started getting into YouTube about 3 years ago, back when I first joined Take 3, I didn't know how much I was going to love doing YouTube. But the thing is, it's part of who I am now. Like, part of who I am is being on this platform and, talking to you guys, and also just sort of, doing my thing as well, because I found that I really like doing this. So I want to take my passion and I want to give it to you guys live and in person. And we will make it happen.
And I can't wait to see how we do it. Like, will it be something as elaborate as what Kevin Smith and Jay Muse do, or what Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy have started doing, or at least what they did earlier in the summer for the Brooklyn event? Like, it has been shown that you can take podcasts on the road and be successful with them. And now that I hear we're branching out and doing this, that's exciting.
Hell yeah. And it's not just that. Because, so, you notice that occasionally when there was like something big Star Wars related, we would do a trailer reaction. Coming next year, we're expanding on that. Now it's going to be kind of we had a good long chat with our friends in the Cinefanatics, and they gave us some solid advice that we took to heart, and we are actually going to proceed with this. So, yes, we are going to be spreading and doing more trailer reactions in general. Mm-hmm. And with that, we're also going to be doing more movie reviews. Because, yeah, I see on average 1 to 2 movies a week early. But I haven't been making the time to make reviews that I should be. But no, that is going to change next year. I will make the time to shoot my reviews that night if I'm able to. And get my thoughts on camera for you guys to see. And all that we ask in return is that you just, you spread the word. When we drop something, you like it, you comment, #ChinaSticks, and you share it wherever you're able to. Because we want to get some fresh eyes on the channel. We want to expand the chat that's fucking going right now. I see there's 12 of you guys. Holy shit. Thank you, all of you. But you want to know what I want to see? I want to see a 0 behind that.
Maybe 2 zeros.
Maybe 2. And it's possible. So let's fucking make it happen. But, okay, sure, movie reviews, that's good. Trailer reactions, that's good. We haven't even scratched the surface of new shit coming, guys. We have not even started. Because there's a lot more coming. So, speaking of reactions and reviews, of course, our recap shows. Viva la Resistance will, be keeping going until that show is done. The Mandalorian, when that comes back for season 2, manners maketh Mandalorian. We're gonna keep going with that as long as that show is going. Obviously, we'll be covering every single Marvel show as they drop. Nico will be hosting those shows, and I cannot wait to see how we go about that under his direction, because he can do it. He's the comics guy. He knows this shit.
Indeed,
way better than Case and I do.
Indeed, I do. And yes, for those of you wondering, my Crisis on Earthplex partner in crime, Zaddy Smith, he and I have talked. We're going to talk a little bit more. Last we chatted about this particular matter, he was interested, but he said, let's wait until the new year and see how I'm feeling then. And that's perfectly understandable. I have not followed up on the subject matter with him since, simply because, and I've said this a million times over like a broken record, college is a pain in the ass. And once college is out of the way, on December 21st is when I will be walking on that stage getting that diploma and finally saying my journey with school is over for now. Then I can start putting into motion the plans for making these shows happen. Yeah. And I will go back to Zad and ask, hey, you still interested? And hopefully he will say yes, and we can pick up where we left off over at Multiplex. And if not, I know there are definitely a lot of other people who love TV as much as I do, who love the comic book stuff as much as I do, and who maybe haven't gotten a shot yet that would like that shot. And we can see where they fit into the picture.
And good God, is it funny that you bring that up? Because, well, and yeah, there's other TV stuff that'll be coming, like I don't know, a certain little Star Trek show called Picard, which God, I'm can't wait for that fucking thing. Seriously, I'm about halfway through season 2 of the original series, to sort of again build up for that. And oh God, I'm really digging the original series. But again, that's not the only thing that we'll be doing though, because kind of like how we do our shows. And actually, Nico, refresh me. What was that show on? What was that show, Chris, on Earthplex all about?
It originally started out as a show where we just recap the stuff that happened in terms of the CW Arrowverse shows like Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, The Flash, Supergirl, and the shows that they've expanded on since, like Batwoman and Black Lightning. And by the time 2020 comes, the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover special will have taken place. And so if we do bring a version of that show back, we'll be covering the fallout. But yeah, and then when we did that, we realized there was only a minimal people in our space that were fans of the Arrowverse, and the people that we hadn't tapped into, we could never reach because for whatever. It was just a matter of we weren't able to market it as well as we could have. Yeah. But not with the backing of Dedicated to Art, that could definitely change. But when we were trying to grow the audience, we kind of made it just more of we made it our version of Collider Heroes in a way.
Yeah, which, I mean, and that was a fair approach to try, but now that we are essentially bringing back Crisis on okay, yeah, we didn't officially finish a name for it, did we?
No, we're still working on the name, but hey, we came up with Manners Maketh Mandalorian
on
literally
the fly,
yeah, on the fly and 5 minutes into the shooting of the actual review and recap. So, for all we know, Zad and I, or me and whoever is my co-host, we'll come up with the name of the show literally 5 minutes into the broadcast, if not sooner. And hey, that makes for interesting TV or viewing.
It does. And now, guys, a quick side note before I get further into the announcements. If you are honestly wanting in, if you're honest to God wanting in on some of this programming.
Thank you, Robert. That was hilarious.
That is beautiful. If you want in on some of this programming, if you want to help us out, all I ask are for 2 things. 1, send us a demo reel of some of your work that you've done where you've actually been part of a podcasting, hosting, whatever. 2, starting in 2020, we will have a minimum level of equipment standard that must be met from everybody involved. That's why Nico is going to be getting a new mic and webcam in 2020. That's why Kees is going to be getting a new computer, webcam, and mic in 2020. And basically, if you have a step similar to mine, that's all I'm asking. Because with more programming means more expected of us from a quality perspective.
And for the record, we're not just looking for on-screen personalities. We're also looking for off-screen personalities, people who know how to edit. There was someone I talked to in Orlando, who mentioned wanting. They're in school for video editing, and I offered them. I told them about what we were doing here tonight, announcing that we're taking auditions now, and the offer is still on the table for that person to send in an audition and become a video editor, if not also an on-screen personality. We're just waiting on that audition. And so however you can help us out, we're willing to hear you out.
Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned video editing, because it's almost like we might need someone who's really good at editing for like a 15-minute show, maybe covering something that we also love. Oh, yeah, that's right. So last year, as far as the Schmoedown reactors go, you had Late to the Party, you had the Schmoedown Rundown, you had Take 3, and I know Multiplex occasionally did a couple things, but they were more focused on building up the leagues and whatnot. But there was a channel called Schmoedown Central, and unfortunately, for some reason or another this year, he's just been gone. Brad Thomas has been no more. And that sucks because I really loved what he was doing. But then Nico and I got to talking. And he said he wanted to do a sort of show that was sort of like Jon Stewart-ish in terms of, coming at something like this from a little bit more of a comedic angle. And I'm like, wait a minute. Why don't you just do it like Schmoedown Central, but with a mix of Jon Stewart? Make it funny. So I can announce that coming next year, we are putting together essentially a version of Schmoedown Central where it's like a 10-15 minute clip, recap show of the week in the Schmoedown because we're so heavily involved in it. But we're coming at it from a different angle. Nico, talk a little more about it if you could.
Yeah. So last week tonight with John Oliver is one of my favorite things on TV right now, and I was just like, I want to do a Schmoedown version of that if I can. And so I pitched the idea to, and also I was like, we one of the things that I feel we need to do more of is we need to get more of a Schmoedown presence in our chats. And like we obviously have the Cine Fanatics in there, and we have a lot of the people who are part of the fan community in here, but we don't have a lot of Schmoedown people in the chats at all times. And I feel like that's something we need to change. So we do Schmoedown reactions, but we don't have like a Schmoedown centric show. And, people like Call to Action. They have a Schmoedown-centric show. JTH, essentially, all he does is reactions. So, like, that's kind of the appeal for him. And so, like, his channel is very Schmoedown-focused. We have a lot of things going on, and the Schmoedown is just a small part of that, and we want to increase our Schmoedown presence a little bit. So I came up with the idea of let's do something like a late-night comedy news show. We'll do it once a week, 15 minutes. We'll do like Schmoedown stories with a Jon Stewart-esque feel to them that have a lot of interesting jokes, but they have a unique message at the end. And right now, I'm looking for potential joke writers, people who could be like my Larry Wilmore to my Jon Stewart, or my Kristen Shaw, because she was on there at one point. Hell, Steve Carell was on The Daily Show and on Stephen Colbert a couple times. So, like, I'm looking for people who could be special correspondents for this new show to help me along in this journey. Because I would love to say I have an idea of what I want the show to be, but even I'm still kind of figuring it out beyond what I just laid out for you because, again, school's a bitch. And so, like, that's where my mind has been. But once that's out of the picture, I'll have more time to think about what I want the show to look like. And I'd like to very much introduce it after Trivia for Thawne has taken place and after the Schmoedown live event in New York in January is public for all to see. So we got about 2.5 months till I want to debut this show. Maybe we'll push it back. Maybe we'll bring it up. I don't know. Well, it all depends on how I'm feeling about how ready this show is. But I want it to be something special and something different from what you all have seen from other Schmoedown reactors. Like, no one's done a spoof show about the Schmoedown before. And I feel like that's a take that hasn't been tried, and I pride myself on doing things that haven't been tried before. Trivia for Thawne was something that hadn't been tried before, and it was a success. And so, like, if anyone knows how to take crazy concepts and turn them into successful ideas, it's yours truly.
And that's what won me over is the sound, because the idea sounds like it can be done easily enough with not too much difficulty, and as long as you have a great crew behind it. And yeah, guys, we'll need at least one editor to pull this off every week. And again, once the numbers start building up a little bit and we get past that 1,000 subscribers, once we get that podcast feed actually making some real ad money, I promise people who do help with these shows will be financially compensated. But yeah, no, you told me about this idea and I was just like, dude, this sounds fucking awesome. And it also made way too much sense. Kind of like how one of the best shows on this network that never really got to go anywhere because of inconsistency is Downtown Dissection. I loved being on that show every time Ryan would put together a new episode, and I loved listening to it whenever he dropped a new episode. But the problem is, again, nothing but love to the guy. There wasn't enough consistency with it.
And his face is currently on a milk carton right now, made by the China Sticks Corporation. We have no idea where he is.
Yeah. So, but that's why I asked you if there was anybody you knew who was really musically inclined. And, I'm also going to throw this out to you guys as well. Like, especially, like David B., Thrawn, if any of you guys are seriously want to get involved in a music-related podcast, hit me up. Let's talk, because I fucking miss that show. And I miss getting into new music, because one of the cool things about doing Downtown Dissection when I did, I finally had an excuse to listen to new music. So, I want to get back into it. And this show to me is the perfect way to do that. And of course, it's going to be focused mostly on. So here, let me give you an idea of what the show is going to be like. Because I'll still obviously I will most likely produce it and co-host it with whomever officially joins the crew. And depending on when we tape it, it might be live, it might be pre-taped. I don't know yet. There's still a couple logistics with that we haven't figured out yet. But the plan for that show is every week we'll sit down and we'll review one new album that dropped. So let's say Killswitch Engage drops a new record. We're going to talk about it. But then I also want to go back and I want to talk about a classic record that's celebrating an anniversary. So let's say this week, Too Fast for Love by Motley Crue. It's its 38th anniversary. So we're going to talk about Too Fast for Love. Does it still hold up? Was it that good at the time? Is it still good now? Stuff like that. But then I also want to have a conversation to close out the show, like a really big, juicy topic. Like, for example, I know I'm going to bring this up as a topic one day. Is Iowa the most overrated Slipknot album? To which the answer is clearly yes. But I want to hear someone else's perspective on that. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. So, yeah, that's what we got going on, as far as that show is concerned. Trying to think here. What else? Oh, I can't forget to mention this, otherwise Kees will probably kill me. So, Kees, back when he and I were on Take 3, one of the shows that he really loved doing was the Saturday night watch-alongs. Now, I don't know if you've been over at Take 3 lately. They haven't really been doing that, so that's why, we don't feel bad in actually announcing that Kees will be, not every Saturday, but I'd say most Saturdays of the month, we'll be putting together a quote-unquote weekly live watch-along where we'll, whoever's on for that episode will get together, we'll watch a movie, and we'll just sort of have commentary over it. And, for him, it'll either be a movie what, he's seen a bunch of times and he'll have some really cool behind-the-scenes factoids about, or maybe it'll be something that he's seen for the first time, and we'll all sort of discover it together.
And also, you mentioned watch-alongs. We're not just limiting this to movies, although we are keeping it that way for Saturdays. There's also talks of maybe for Sundays doing TV and sports watch-alongs. You guys know I'm a big wrestling fan. You guys know I'm a big fight fan. Kees is a big fan of Formula One and professional soccer. So there's room to explore with that as well. And, there might be something cool on TV on Saturdays that we would all want to watch together as it's happening right in front of our eyes. Say Batwoman or Supergirl or Bar Rescue or what have you. We're exploring. We're experimenting with the watch-along concept and broadening it out to other genres as well. Genres and mediums.
Absolutely. And that's what's going to be exciting is that and again, the main reason that I had to say yes to the watch-along idea, it's more opportunities to talk to you guys. It's more opportunities for us all to hang out and get to know each other, get to know each other's tastes, get to know what we like about certain shows, sports, movies, whatever the hell is going on. You know, the communities like this are founded on togetherness, are founded on unity, founded on a sense of kinship. And without that, the community kind of doesn't really work. So that's essentially the plan with that. Now, I'm going to talk about what's probably the biggest no-brainer of a show.
I know where this is going.
Because, again, way back when, you guys know I love my Star Wars. I always have. I've loved it for the better part of 20 years. It is a part of my identity. Hell, it's my fucking Twitter handle.
And it makes up 2 shows on this channel already.
Exactly. So, to me, it only makes sense that I revive my old show from Take 3 that I originally started on Take 3 Productions. I bring back Knights of the Podcast, a weekly Star Wars show where we talk about not just news, which, granted, there's plenty that goes around, but not enough to do like a Cloud Jedi Council where you're constantly talking about the news and that's it. No. Let me give you a quick skinny on how the show is going to break down. So, there's movie news, of course. Talking about, comics, books, video games, so on and so forth. Was the deal with canon? But I'm not going to do it that way, obviously. That's borrowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trademark.
Trademark. There you go. But I'm going to do a section called "There's Always a Bit of Truth in Legends," where I'm going to do a history lesson of that week in Star Wars. So let's say the week that Force Awakens comes out, or the week that Rise of Skywalker comes out. That'd be the same week that Last Jedi and Force Awakens comes out. So we talk about how those were when they first came out. Like, what was the public anticipation like? And we get into that for a little bit. Then, of course, we take questions from you guys. That's the other thing, too. We are going to need someone to handle some of the social media aspect of the channel, because we're still slacking in that department, admittedly.
And I'll just say it right here. I keep advertising at the end of all of our plugs, at the end of each show, that I'm part of Combat Wrestling Trivia. But for the better part of a couple months, I have not been really doing anything behind the scenes. I'm the one who created the poorly made Twitter handle, the poorly made Twitter account, and no one, as far as I know, has been using it as of late. So, yeah it takes a lot of dedication to really hold up your social media presence.
You could say it's an art in and of itself, and you need someone who's dedicated to it. Ha.
Heyo.
But to close out the bit on Knights of the Podcast, of course, what made that show so great to begin with? Because, yeah, sure, talking about the news was great. Talking about the history lessons, great. Nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to the best fucking idea I ever came up with, once more, with feeling. Which is where, let's say Kees, Nico, and I are on an episode together. We will pick a scene from Star Wars, TV, movie, book, video game, comic, whatever the hell we want, and we're gonna act it out. We're gonna dramatize it for you guys. But here's the fun thing about it, though. We're gonna do it one time serious. We're gonna truly emote, give ourselves to the performance, and have a blast with it. But then the second time around, we're gonna do it with a gimmick of our choosing. And oh no, I got a feeling my walking is gonna get some work. Oh God. Yes. So yeah, that is Knights of the Podcast. Is there anything? And then obviously, as far as our current programming, that's not going anywhere. We're still going to be doing Schmoedown reactions for everything that drops, unless we have technical issues like we had earlier this week. Who cares anyway? This show ain't going anywhere. I fucking love doing this show too much. So, plus, like I said, this is kind of turning into our flagship show. And I think this is the perfect show to be our flagship show.
I would agree with that. In terms of the written schedule that you have on this document in front of me, I think we've covered all the bases of what we wanted to say that has a specific date we want to upload throughout the week. So I'll just finish off with this. We don't really, because I feel like I'm going to do this sporadically. So my sister spent a good portion of the early part of this year building her own computer from scratch. She got a bunch of parts from Amazon, and she built a computer from scratch that she intended to use for video game streaming. Like she also has aspirations of growing sort of a presence online, and she probably would have already if not for the fact that she's afraid of someone finding out where we live via our IP address. So that gaming computer that she built is kind of just sitting downstairs waiting to be used. So I'm going to ask her if she can maybe figure out a setup for me, and we can do some game streaming that like no set schedule. It'll just be something of like whenever I feel like we'll do some live streaming of me playing, let's say, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order when I finally get around to that game, which won't be for a couple more weeks, even though it came out literally today. Or let's say Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga when that finally comes out. You guys know I'm a big fan of the Lego games, especially Lego Star Wars. Like that's how I learned so many of the characters' names was through the Lego games. And so I really want to play that when it comes out. Let's say Injustice 3 comes out without any announcement. Like Warner Brothers and the game company that made it, they're just like, here, have at it. And I'm like, okay, I'll feel like playing that game for all of you. Like it's something we've talked about. It's something I think Brooklyn Vale has wanted to do on the various channels he's worked for a while, and he just hasn't gotten to really go beyond the Jackbox stuff. I see the success that New British Empire has been having with the Jackbox streaming, and it's something I want to try out too. So it's not official yet, but I would like to do some game streaming in 2020. And if we have to get a Twitch channel to do that because YouTube is fickle about their rules and regulations with copyright, or if we just do that as an exclusive for our Facebook page, I feel like Twitch might be the way to go simply because they'll allow us to do things that YouTube won't. It's something we're thinking about. It's something we're looking at. So stay tuned.
You know, and funny enough, you're not the only one who's been thinking about that because I've wanted to do Let's Plays of some of my favorite games for a long fucking time. Like, I would love to do a Let's Play of Star Wars Jedi Knight 2 Jedi Outcast, or do a Let's Play of the classic RTS game Stronghold. Or hell, if I want to do one of the Age of Empires games, or if I wanted to do Knights of the Old Republic, or if I wanted to do just a Grand Theft Auto game, you know, something like that, like,
or something as simple as Mario Kart.
Yeah, you know, yeah, that's essentially what I've given some thought about that too, and it's like, yeah, it's possible to do. It's just, you know, how much do I want to commit to figuring out how to do it. And you know what? The fact that I'm thinking about it means I kind of want to do it. So that's essentially the basics of it. And Ingle, we've given some thought to a Patreon. We just don't have the resources for that yet.
We're thinking about Streamlabs as an option too, while we wait for the subscribers to justify us having Super Chat.
Yeah. You know, because that's the thing, too, is like, I don't feel we're at the point for a Patreon yet.
Maybe someday.
You know, if we get a couple thousand subscribers, then I think we'll be at that point. But we're not there yet. And I don't want to rush into it, because here's the thing. If we're at the level of success where we can start a Patreon, that means I can quit my day job. I can't quit my day job yet. That would mean that this is like YouTube is my source of income, and we're not there yet. So,
but we want to get there.
We want to get there. Absolutely, absolutely. And here's the thing: we're gonna fucking get there. So help me, we are gonna get there. Like we've all put too much into this to start to try backing down slowly now. Them's the facts.
Like, I've been a part of so many channels since I joined the Schmoedown fan community, and there have been some falling outs for whatever reason behind the scenes. But Dedicated to Art is the channel that I've put all my eggs into. This is the basket that I've put all my eggs into because I enjoy coming here. I like the work. I like the quality that we put out. We all get along very well. We want more people to come in that we can increase that we can grow our friendships with one another. I like working for this channel, and I want all that work to amount to something. We want something. We want to see the reward for all the work that we put in for this because we've spent so much time trying to grow it.
Yeah. So I think that ought to about do it. I've kind of run out of things to really talk about. And obviously, again, guys, just a refresher. So if you want to recommend someone who wants to get into YouTube, but either as an editor or as a graphics designer or as a personality, as an engineer, whatever, our email is on the channel. D2A channel, but that's DTOA channel at gmail.com. Send us an email with a resume. With a resume, but also a link to a demo reel if you can. Hi, Luna. You're very excited for next year, aren't you? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. But yeah, so send your stuff to us, and we will look it over. And again, the only thing that I'm asking of you is that you have to have professional equipment. That's the standard we're all going to be setting for ourselves next year. So, you guys, if you want in, you need to be a part of that too. So, but that said, I think that'll about do it. Nico, you think?
Yeah, I think so. Hi there. Hi.
All right. Boop. So then I guess, and guys, obviously, we're gonna here then. I'll do one final run through of everything coming, and then we'll close out the show. So next year, we will have a Schmoedown recap show in the styling of The Daily Show with Jon Stewart and Trevor Noah. Next year, we will also have Knights of the Podcast, a weekly Star Wars show where we talk about the stuff coming up, but then we also love to goof around and have fun. We have Crisis on Earthplex 2.0 under a different name, but that's cool. Look forward to it. It's going to be a great time for all of you guys. Down-Tune Dissection. It'll be back better than ever and rebranded, restructured, and seriously, guys, it's going to be awesome. And then, of course, we're going to have our watch-alongs where we're going to sit down, watch a movie, and we're going to just grow from it. We're going to talk about it. In addition to our recaps, which you'll see a lot more of, our reviews, which you'll see a lot more of, reactions, which you'll see a lot more of, including Schmoedown, movies, trailers, TV, all that fun stuff. And, of course, every Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Central, we'll be live talking shop on the Who Cares Anyway podcast. And please, guys, subscribe to the podcast feed. Because #PodernFamily, #Film Twitter, and seriously, guys, if you're really good at social media and you just want an extra account to promote, talk to me. Because we need someone who can really help spread the love for our podcast feed. So, once again, thank you so much. And guys, Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Who Cares Anyway podcast. This was exciting. This was very exciting. Nico, you need to focus on graduation. Because as soon as you're done with school, and obviously you take the rest of the year off to just enjoy yourself into Christmas and whatnot, we're going to hit the ground running, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I need a new mic. I need a new camera. I need to get better at this thing we call podcasting because, yeah, I feel like I was very mush-mouthed tonight, which it happens. We all have our off nights.
We do. It happens. But, yeah, my friend, my brother in arms, tell the good folks where they can find you online.
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli, or just Nico Suave with 4 random meaningless numbers at the end on Discord, Instagram, Snapchat, and LinkedIn coming soon after college. That's when it will happen. Combat Wrestling Trivia on Facebook, Combat Wrestling Network on YouTube. The poorly made Twitter handle is at Combat Wrestlin, the number 2. There is no letter G. Sometimes on TMG Entertainment, where I am the reigning Chokeslam Wrestling Debate Champion of the world. I think we can say this. Chris, you and I will be having a late TV fights debate about various Star Wars TV stuff in 2020 as well. So that's going to be fun. And, of course, right here on Dedicated to Art and all the places Chris will say in just a moment, with all the new shows coming out in 2020, with all the shows we still have here in 2019, and, of course, Trivia for Thon 2. I'll have an announcement about that as soon as I get my things in order in my personal life and education is all sorted out. And one last thing, screw the Cleveland Browns, and also congratulations to the parents of my godchildren who will be having their 4th child within the next day or so.
Damn. Congratulations indeed. And, of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, Letterboxd, and Discord at Skywalker Dohmen. You guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page, join our Facebook group so you stay up to date with everything we got going on. Manners Maketh Mandalorian. New episode will drop tomorrow. Viva la Resistance. New episode drops on Monday. Schmoedown reaction. It's already up. Go check it out, please. And next week we'll be joined by the one, the only, the littlest of evils, Josh Tapia, aka JTE. Don't miss that conversation, guys. It's gonna be awesome. But until then, you know what to do. Take care,
McClunky.